All right, music fans, let's dive into all the excitement from the 67th Grammy Awards. It was a night of big wins, surprising snubs, and some really wild outfits. We've got a lot to unpack, so let's get started. Oh, and did I mention that Kenyan connection gone wrong? You're not going to want to miss that.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how these stories go beyond just the awards themselves. We're talking about bigger cultural conversations, representation, and the impact these artists have on the music scene and beyond.
Absolutely. Speaking of impact, we have to start with Queen Bey. She finally broke that Grammy curse, winning Album of the Year for Renaissance. It's her first win in this category after being nominated 4 times before.
And this is not just any album. Renaissance is a celebration of Black culture's influence, particularly on country music. For example, the song Church Girl samples the gospel classic Center of My Joy by the Clark sisters. It's a really powerful blend of musical traditions and speaks to how Black artists are shaping genres in really innovative ways.
It really is groundbreaking. And with this win, Beyoncé also becomes the artist with the most Grammys ever, a total of 35 awards. Talking about legacy. But speaking of big wins, did you catch Kendrick Lamar's performance? He cleaned up, taking home 5 awards, including 3 for Not Like Us.
What I find fascinating is that Lamar was actually competing against himself in a couple of categories. That really highlights his influence and dominance in the rap scene right now.
Okay, now, for a little fashion fun,
Yeah.
Jaden Smith showed up wearing well, I don't even know how to describe it, a mansion on his head.
Yeah, you have to give him points for creativity, right? And
Okay,
then there was Willow Smith rocking that swimsuit and coat combo. It was definitely a bold choice.
definitely got people talking. But then there was Kanye West and Bianca Censori. They arrived in matching all-black outfits, pretty low-key actually, but then Bianca took off her coat and, well, let's just say it sparked some online debate.
There were definitely mixed reactions to her outfit. But speaking of Kanye, he was also nominated for Best Rap Song, adding to his already impressive 24 Grammy wins and 76 nominations throughout his career.
Yeah, he's a force in the music industry, that's for sure. But you know what? Get ready for this. Reggae legend Vybz Kartel made his first U.S. appearance in 20 years. And, well, here's the thing. He just finished serving 13 years in prison for a murder conviction that was overturned because of judicial misconduct.
Talk about a comeback story. Even after everything he's been through, he was still nominated for Best Reggae Album. It just goes to show how much influence he still has on the genre. Newer artists, like Shensi, have even spoken about how much he inspires them.
It's incredible how his music has resonated through the years, even while he was incarcerated. And his attitude through all of it is inspiring. He's talked about how his faith kept him going and how this nomination shows the younger generation that you can overcome any obstacle.
What I found particularly insightful was how he discussed finding the balance between artistry and commercial success in the reggae music scene. He's thinking about the future of the genre as a whole, not just his own career.
All right, are you ready for a story that'll leave you scratching your head? This one involves the Kenyan president, William Ruto, a whole lot of money, and the Grammys. Ruto announced that Kenya had paid a whopping 500 million Kenyan shillings to host the awards ceremony. Of course, people were super excited.
However, it turns out the Grammys were never actually going to be held in Kenya. The Recording Academy sent out an email confirming that the awards would always be held in the United States.
Wow. Talk about a mix-up. It's no wonder people in Kenya were confused and disappointed.
It's a good reminder to be cautious about the information we encounter, especially online. Not everything you read, even if it comes from what seems like an official source, is necessarily true.
You know, it's wild how one event, like the Grammys, can spark so many different conversations.
Absolutely. It's not just about the awards themselves, right? These shows really reflect our culture, our values, even our anxieties.
Totally. Like when we were discussing Beyoncé's win and what it means for representation, that's a bigger conversation than just the awards themselves.
And don't forget, Vybz Kartel's comeback story. It brings up important questions about our justice system, about second chances.
Yeah, it really makes you think. These award shows, I mean, they're not just fancy ceremonies, you know. They make us look at ourselves, who we are and what we care about.
That's such a good point. And maybe that's why they grab our attention. They give us a chance to think about these big questions, celebrate amazing talent, and see the world maybe a little differently.
Okay, but let's be real here. Award shows aren't perfect, are they?
Oh, definitely not. They get a lot of criticism for being out of touch, for being biased, even for causing more drama than they resolve.
Yeah, like that whole Kenyan Grammy situation.
Mm.
It shows how easily misinformation can spread, even from people in positions of power.
Exactly. It's a reminder to be critical of what we see and hear online, you know? I mean, even presidents can get things wrong.
Makes you wonder, what does that say about how we deal with information, especially with something as big as the Grammys?
It's a really good question. I mean, think about it. Why do we care so much about these awards? Why do we get so invested in who wins and loses?
And are we giving them too much power? Should they be the ones deciding what's good music and what's not?
It's definitely something to consider. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement, but we gotta remember music is subjective, right? What one person loves, another person might not even like.
So true. But I don't know, even with all the problems and controversy, there's something special about the Grammys, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a sense of community, this shared love for music that brings people together.
Yeah, like we're all part of this global conversation about art and culture, what
Yeah.
it means to be human, you know?
And sometimes it's those unexpected moments that make it unforgettable. Like, who could forget Jaden Smith with that mansion on his head? Pure entertainment.
It was. It was a reminder that even with all the seriousness, there's still room for fun and a little absurdity.
Exactly. And maybe that's what keeps us coming back year after year, right? We want to see our favorite artists get recognized, those amazing performances, and yeah, even have a good laugh along the way.
So even with all the complications, the contradictions, award shows like the Grammys have a special place for us.
Yeah, they reflect how our taste in music changes, how we talk about representation, and I think our fascination with the power of music.
Now, I want to hear from you. What makes these award shows so captivating to you? Do they really matter?
Let's jump into those questions right after the break.
We've been talking about all the big moments from the Grammys. And, you know, it's got me thinking.
Yeah, award shows like this, I mean, they're more than just a spectacle, right? They can be like a starting point for these big discussions about representation and cultural influence and even like systemic issues like we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. When we were talking about Beyoncé and her historic win, it wasn't just about the awards themselves. It really got us thinking about how genres change and how Black artists are influencing music in these incredible ways, and how the Grammys are starting to recognize that, which is huge.
Right. And then there's Vibes Cartel's story. His whole journey raises these questions about the justice system and second chances and how someone's art can survive even the toughest situations.
Exactly. It shows how powerful these events can be. You know, they shine a light on stories that we might not otherwise hear, and they start these conversations that go way beyond just the stage.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these awards so interesting to analyze. They're not just about winning a trophy, you know? It's like
And
they're giving us a glimpse into where we are culturally, what we care about, what we're struggling with as a society.
it's like, yeah, like holding up a mirror. And we see not just the glamorous side, but also the flaws, the complications.
Right, and that's why it's so important to look at these events with a critical eye, to question what we see, celebrate the achievements, and use them as a way to start deeper conversations, you know?
So as you go about your day and maybe hear a song from one of the artists we talked about or see a headline about the Grammys, remember that there's always more to the story, always more to think about.
Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep those conversations going. You never know what you might discover.